Nah, Hey, Kaylee. Hey, Bailey. Good to see ya. All right. Well, welcome. So I see Kaylee's here and Bailey's here. So I don't know how well this is going to work. We'll see. Twitch worked pretty well last time, but again, this is a more professional account through YouTube. So I'm hoping this will work. We'll just have to see. So I suppose, I really appreciate y'all showing up. If you have questions, great. If you don't have questions, that's cool too. You can just chill. Y'all can chat with each other. You do you. Um, but I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have. And they can be questions about grading. They can be questions about what's coming up with French 4. Um, it can just be small talk. It's whatever. Hey, Ronan, welcome. So Bailey asked in the chat, what is going to be the next unit in French? I know you discussed reading The Little Prince, Le Petit Prince. Yeah, that's the plan. So the way, so it's tricky. Um, First, short answer, yes, we are going to be reading The Little Prince. The long answer is a little bit more nuanced than that. We are going to be reading it. It'll be a little different than it normally would have been. I've been really excited about. I'm just going to mute my headphones because it's distracting. I've been really excited about reading The Little Prince with y'all, and I had a plan kind of going into this with how that might look from a distance. So, two things. The first is with distance learning, um, it's kind of up to you, right? So it's kind of however much you want to be engaged is up to you. So I will be providing content, whether that's lectures or like um, small assignments or like readings and stuff. And it's kind of up to you what you want to do. So if you want to do a lot, I will give you as much as I can. If you don't want to do anything, that's kind of up to you too. So I can't really ask that much of you. But I'm really excited to give you a lot of support with this. And so the more you put in, the more you'll get out. So the more you show up and the more you do the readings and stuff, the more I can work with y'all and kind of get deeper into the text. So the way it's going to work is I will upload pieces of it to ClassKick as ClassKick documents, and then I'm going to ask you to read certain sections like bit by bit, just like we normally would, except instead of a real book, it's going to be in ClassKick, which might almost be better in the sense that you can access it from your iPad. You can underline stuff and highlight stuff, and I'm actually going to be asking you to do that really specifically. I'm going to say, hey, I really want to see you underlining stuff. I want to see you circling words. I want to see you looking up words. Um, and I'll be able to see that work directly through ClassKick, and you'll be able to annotate in a way that you couldn't normally do. So I'm really excited about that. And then my plan was to then have sessions maybe like this if this Q&A works, but at the very least have discussion on Canvas. And the way I would see it going is there would be two discussion posts. So there would be a discussion post with like a prompt in French and you would answer in French. And then there would be a discussion post with just general questions or comments or remarks about the reading in English, where y'all can suss out with each other comprehension and stuff. And then in preparing for my lesson, I'll draw on those and kind of address those in my video lesson that I record, kind of like the PowerPoints I've been doing. Um, and then take it a step further with directions. I would really encourage y'all to go with your reading and things to like look out for. It's a book I've read at least 4 times, and so I feel really confident with my ability to kind of guide y'all through it and open you up to the different um, little gems that are hidden in there. Hope that answers your question. So some of you may be saying, "Gosh, I'm not ready for that. I need to just chill and process, and I've got stuff going on at home with family, or I've got stuff going on with work. That's fine. There's no judgment. Um, but my job is to provide content for you. And so for those of you who are up to it, who are looking for French content, I will be providing that. Kaylee asked, any units after that? No, that's it. So the way I had intended normally for the school year to go was we would finish this unit on the subjunctive, and then we would go into this Petit Prince reading, and we do a lot of vocabulary work with that. We're not going to do as much vocabulary work. And then after the Petit Prince, I had planned on like kind of a review unit where we kind of spend a week checking in basically and going through like, okay, what we had done over the year and answering those lingering questions you had. We can still kind of do that, but since the situation is what it is, and excuse me, since your engagement is kind of up to you, I won't be asking for another unit after that. So that'll be the end of the curriculum as such. Bailey asked, do you have any info about dual credit? Yes and no. I'm meeting with a UW Green Bay professor tomorrow through Zoom to discuss kind of details. My understanding is still a little foggy. The other dual credit instructors in world language have been in touch earlier today about what the policy is with UW Green Bay as far as grading goes. It's not clear to us, so we don't have that information for you yet, but we're working really hard to get it. Essentially, when Verona was trying to decide what to do about grading, they were contacting these universities, which offer dual credit, and these these other programs with MATC, and I think there are a couple other programs. And basically, in coming to the decision VHS came to, they were trying to decide, okay, well, what's the best way to do this where it does the least harm, right? No harm done. We want to give y'all space to process this because this is a crisis. This is really intense and difficult for all of us. But we also want to provide content for those of you who are trying to continue. And then also we want to make sure that there isn't harm in terms of your credit received for these courses. So the staff at Verona have been working super hard to make sure that this doesn't change anything with your dual credit. So I'm confident we can make that happen, but I don't have more info about concretely what UW Green Bay is looking for and how that's going to look. And I'll have more information tomorrow after my meeting with Professor. And I just want to say, like, it's really great to see y'all. I know that I'm not seeing your faces and stuff, and we're not having conversations, but I've really missed that in class time. I did a Twitch live with some French 2 students, and I think like 3 students showed up, which wasn't great, but even just that, like, it was so dope to see people, even if I'm not seeing them, right, just in the chat. I miss y'all, and this is whack. Like, this is not fun, I don't think, for anybody. And we're all just doing the best we can to make it work. And as teachers, we're trying to provide that stability and that support for y'all. But we're struggling too on our end with like, wow, this is weird. And thank goodness we've got Animal Crossing. And I got my 2 cats and Miss Punzel, but it's tough. Yes. So Bailey, I will fight tooth and nail to make sure y'all get retroactive credits. Like for me, y'all paid the money. Like you legit paid UW Green Bay for those credits. So I will do everything I can to make sure that that happens. I'm not a representative of UW Green Bay. I'm not with them, so I can't guarantee that. But I will fight for y'all to get those credits. And I'm not concerned about that. I don't think that's on the table. I think y'all are still getting the credits for sure. But I can't give you a solid answer yet until I've spoken to this professor tomorrow. Yeah. Um, so Bailey, uh, I consider it highly likely that you'll still get those retroactive credits. I think VHS has been pretty admirable in terms of how quickly we've responded to this and kind of set up systems in place. Other institutions have been slower, some have been faster, but ultimately every institution is struggling with this, whether it's high schools, middle schools, college, what have you. And so I think this is one of those really weird situations where a lot of people are going to have to be a lot more flexible with that kind of stuff. And so I'm confident you can get those credits. And I really, really want to reassure you that I'm confident that can happen. I cannot guarantee it for certain, but I'm very confident that can happen. And I will fight like hell to make sure it does. And you can take my word for that. Ronan asked, any news on admin allowing video calls in classes? I know Ray and Domris were appealing for it. Yes, many teachers feel really strongly about this. Like, we miss seeing y'all, of course. Um, but there are programs like music where they really need to see you. I know that in world language, we do sign language. And how are you about to assess somebody's skill with sign language without seeing their hands, right? Um, so I know that there have been some small exceptions made. I think I don't see it changing, Ronan, to answer your question. I don't see that changing school wide. I do think that for certain classes, if there is this really clear need, that can change, right? So the teacher can appeal and kind of try to see, okay, well, what are some situations? What are some? So for me, like this live chat is my way of working around it, where y'all can see me, I can't see you, but there's still this simultaneous conversation happening where you're chatting and I'm responding. Um, so I don't see that changing, Ronan. I don't see that kind of saying no video calls with students changing. And I think that's, honestly, I think that's wise for everybody involved, for everybody's safety. It's not ideal, it's not fun, right? But I think it's the wisest decision. Ultimately, if it became like a problem or something, and if a student was like, "Hey, I really need to like," some students process better when they see face to face and stuff. Like, cool. Like, I think that would be on a case to case basis, but I don't see the overall rule changing. And you know, maybe somebody's typing or something right now, but and I don't want to just fill the void right with words. I really want to make it clear to y'all that this is a challenging time, and the I don't know if I would say the good thing, but the thing about this is everybody is going through this. um, everybody's going through this. And so, whether people are working in the private sector or the public sector, whether people are in education, whether people are students, um, I can tell you many times in every one of my conversations, every time I've had a conversation with a staff member, it's come up how much we feel for y'all as seniors because we cannot imagine the kind of pain you're having right now with like that, this kind of like really awkward end to your high school career. And we care so much about y'all, and we're working really hard to make sure that you get some small piece of that senior experience at the end of the year. Um, but ultimately, this is going to be remembered as a really bizarre time for everybody. And the good news is that that's a shared experience, right? And so you won't walk up to people and be like, "Oh yeah, I was at VHS, and so it was this way," and then other people will be like, "Oh, what are you talking about? We still had school. We still showed up." No, like people all over the country, all over the world, are not showing up to school, and so it's not like Verona is some exception. You will have that shared experience. Kaylee asked a question: "What flowers does your Animal Crossing island have?" Uh, We've been playing a lot. I've played so much. Oh my gosh. I played with Mr. Waller last night. He came and visited. I visited his island. Miss Punzel's been playing the most. She's been playing since before I started playing, so it's really her island. Um, Gosh, we have red and white tulips. We have pansies and hyacinths. And I didn't realize they were different for each island, so now I'm gonna have to hop to different islands to check them out. But I've been having a lot of fun on Animal Crossing designing. I've been designing a lot of clothes, and that's a lot of fun. Didn't realize that was going to be what I was going to be doing, but I'm designing a lot of clothes. That's really cool. Bailey asked a really good question. Do you have any French podcasts, movies, shows that you would recommend to help us keep hearing French? Uh, um, yeah. Yes. There are a lot of great movies out there. I don't watch a lot of French films through Netflix. I usually like buy them and stuff just because there's not that wide of a selection. But I would really recommend uh, just searching for foreign films. Um, what I can do is I'll take a note and I'll send y'all an email with a list because I won't expect you to write all this stuff down. But I'll take a note to myself so that I can kind of follow up with you with proper answers. But there are a couple French podcasts that I've listened to. Um, Spotify generally is better for podcasts in French than Apple Podcasts. I was really disappointed with the variety on Apple. Um, so I will definitely give you those recommendations. It's hard because it's going to be influenced by my own tastes. I'm really passionate about um, social justice, racial justice, basically, and anything that's generally progressive. So like I tend to be tuned into that especially, and a lot of D&D. So it's going to be a little bit tinted by my own preferences, and I think that's great. The only recommendation I would have for that is look for films that interest you, because if there's that interest, that's going to go a lot farther towards helping you, towards getting that understanding there. If you enjoy it, you will learn so much more. If you enjoy it, it will bring so much more to you. Um, that said, I would really recommend going for live action instead of cartoons. Cartoons would probably be easier to get to, but live action, you'll be able to see people speaking, and it doesn't it might not feel like it, but every time you see somebody speak in French and you're seeing their mouth move and their expressions and the way they use their hands, that's teaching you, right? You're learning to recognize signs and patterns to make sense of what they're saying. And so live action is much more helpful for that. So I'd recommend if you're going to shows or movies, go to live action. Nailed It is a series on Netflix that I think originated in France. I'm not sure, but they have a French version of it. And that would be like, I thought about showing y'all an episode of that just because it's goofy. It's French people being just normal people in the 21st century, right? Doing a goofy reality show about trying to bake and just botching it. And it's live action. But again, I'm going to have to do a little bit of research and get back to you so I can get you like some proper resources. But yeah, I've got all the recommendations. I mentioned in the lesson for today that I've gotten in touch with a friend of a friend who is teaching English in France. And we've already done one session where we spend about 5 minutes talking, just chatting basically in English for her students. She asked a lot about what the pandemic's like here, what the education system's like here, and how students like you are coping with it. And then we had a very similar conversation then in French, which I would like to share with y'all. I need to edit it and kind of cut it. Um, but for me, I love podcasts. I love that medium. And I really liked the idea of y'all still hearing my voice, as your teacher, but then also hearing another voice that's an authentic Francophone native speaker voice and talking about current stuff, right? Not talking about like canned dialogues that were written 20 years ago, but like legit just, a like, what is this lived experience like for you? So that's still in the works. It's just an idea that I've kind of just I pitched to her, and she kind of was responsive to it, and so far it seems to be working okay. But we've only done one meeting, so we'll have to see where that goes. But I look forward to sharing that with you once it kind of takes more shape. So Bailey, as always, I'm very long-winded. I apologize, but I hope that answered your question a little bit, and I hope you're understanding that I will follow up with a proper thing through email. Yeah, I look forward to that too. Yeah, there are a lot of films that I really like that you know there's a film called La Haine, which is called Hate, and I've watched it maybe 5 or 6 times, and it was about um, it's a fictional film about riots in Paris, and I remember watching it in French, AP French, when I took AP French, and it really hit home to me because it was people, real people, um, and it was interesting because it was made in 1995. But in 2005, 10 years after it came out, there was riots exactly like that. So La Haine is a really good one. Almighty is cute. I've only watched it like I think once. Um, yeah, but I'll get back to you. I taught a literature course at UW, and I did kind of a side of feminism in French New Wave cinema, which is tricky because so many of the artists were male and so many of them were conditioned by the world of the 60s. But Cleo from 5 to 7, which I showed y'all, was a core part of that curriculum where it's like, hey, here's the one of the movies that we watched that's by a female director, and it was really cool. So I'm really grateful that before this happened, I was able to share that movie with you. Hey, A97, nice to see you. I don't know who that is, but welcome. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Some days are better than others. I think this is emotionally tough for everybody. Um, I'm really grateful that I am here as your teacher, that I can provide this stuff, right? And that we have been given the freedom to not grade you, to basically just give you stuff, to give you resources, to give you that steady kind of support because this is such a hard time. I would know that if I were in your place, I would really struggle with going from regular day-to-day classes to nothing. So I am so grateful that I'm in a position where I can give you that. Other movies like Cleo, I'll send you in the list. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is another one of my favorite films. Les Parapluies de Cherbourg, where it's a musical, but it's a very French version of the musical. Um, I don't know if exactly what you're looking for in terms of movies like Cleo. There is no other movie like Cleo de Cinq à Sept in that, Agnès Varda is brilliant, and um, that movie is so original in its own way. But there are a lot of movies from that same era that have that same kind of charm. Um, they're often from a man's perspective, which is limiting, but but still interesting and fun and nice. To stay busy in my free time, I've been cooking a lot. Um, I like to cook, especially for Miss Punzel. She's been doing a lot of bird watching, and so I go on walks with her a lot. We live in a really beautiful area right near the Arboretum. Um, and so bird watching has been really cool. She's gotten really into it, and she's taken some really remarkable photos, and that's been really cool to kind of witness. It's less my thing, but it's something that I think is really cool and I really admire. Um, I've been playing a lot of D&D. I've been leading about 4 sessions a week, which is a lot of time to prep and a lot of time to sit down and do that. But it really helps to see people. It really helps to have these video calls where I'm leading people in a story and helping them resolve these conflicts and just being goofy, basically. And I'm still playing with teachers. We're meeting tomorrow night on Zoom. Miss Fassbender, Miss Burns' husband, Mr. Waller. Miss Hardin joined us a little bit, but she's been busy. I've been working on stuff with y'all, and especially working with other teachers to kind of understand how I can best support y'all and really cater to those of you who are ready to engage with the curriculum, but also give space to those of you who are struggling. um, and playing a lot of video games. I've been playing a lot of Subnautica, which is a PC game that I've been meaning to play, and that was really beautiful, really escapist, kind of surreal survival game, which is really, really cool. Um, and then I played a little bit of League of Legends, and then I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing these past few days. I haven't been very productive, but I think that's okay. And I would encourage y'all to give yourselves that room to not be super productive, to not write a novel, to not, necessarily read more than you ever read or do a million paintings, because I think this is an emotional experience, and I think it's important to give yourself that space to just kind of process. Bailey asked if I've been sucked into Tiger King craziness. No. Uh, I've walked in on a couple episodes, just here and there, and it just makes me sad. I really feel for animals in general, and zoos just make me sad. Zoos, like I love going to zoos, but I hate going to zoos because I go and I just feel sad. I really feel for the animals and stuff, and I think it's a beautiful resource for education for kiddos, but so that's just amplified with the Tiger King nonsense. But I'm here for all the memes. I'm always an active consumer of pop culture and memes and stuff, and I think that's fun. And I love that people are loving it, so I'm here for it. It's just not something that I want to spend my time watching. And yeah, Ronan, yeah, Subnautica is great. And yeah, I don't know about Ronan said class D&D win. Yeah, I thought about having y'all play D&D in French. I thought about that. I thought about, okay, let's see with French 4. Let's see if you can roll some dice in French and see how that goes. But I wasn't going to subject those of you to it who were not feeling it. I wasn't going to put y'all through that if you weren't feeling it. And it didn't really fit neatly into what's part of the curriculum. But I would really recommend, if that's something you're interested in, that would be a great way to connect during this time with each other. Ronan, if you want to play D&D with the class, what's stopping you from getting in touch with Bailey and Kaylee and, Magnolia and Angelica and Kate and Andrea and all them, do it. Do it. And yeah, Subnautica's great. I haven't played for a couple weeks now, but it's really beautiful, really impressive. I don't have VR, but I can imagine with VR it'd be terrifying and very beautiful. How are y'all doing? I expect in chat you won't feel necessarily open to just spilling your guts and stuff, but I'd love to hear how y'all are doing and what's keeping you, I guess, busy, but more importantly, what's keeping you going. And maybe also like if you feel comfortable, like what are some ways I can help you? You know, if you want to put that in the chat, what are some ways as your French teacher that I can support y'all? Yeah, Ronan says I've been playing way too many games. Um, Again, this is traumatic, um, and it's a paradigm shift. It's gonna change the way people see society for the next generation because y'all are gonna be shaped by this. You know, this is again, like I said, a shared experience, and people are seeing things really differently. All of a sudden, that job that you can do from home, oh, guess what? I guess you can do it from home. You know, this, that, and the other. Um, so I would really encourage y'all to be really gentle with yourselves, and that means not feeling guilt about the things you do to get through the day. Um, yeah. Oh, that's great, Bailey. That's really cool. Bailey said, I've been going on occasional 3 mile walks by myself. That's awesome. Um, I did a lot of Buddhist meditation for about 10 years. I've stopped for a while now, but walking meditation was part of that. And walking is such a beautiful way to do it in that you are bringing yourself back into your body, right? Many people think of meditation, they think of sitting and breathing. It's just one way to get an anchor to come back into your body and kind of quiet your mind a little bit. And I think walks are so great, and nature is so great. Nature is such a great resource. Like nature's doing good. We're struggling, but nature's going to be fine. Um, so I think that's a great thing. I'm glad you're doing that, Bailey. Ronan said walks are great. Katie said me and my sister play basketball in our driveway. That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, yeah. Ronan is collecting moss and rocks for terrariums. That's awesome. Like a goblin. Yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah. And I think I think I would in encouraging y'all to be gentle with yourselves. I would also encourage y'all to be receptive to what you're going to. Okay, you're going to video games. Okay, why? You know, what does Subnautica offer me? Well, it's gorgeous and it's escaping and it's there's no people, but it's a beautiful world. And Animal Crossing, we're actually able to be social, but like it's this cheerful but still kind of deep world, and it keeps you busy and it feels like it's got meaning and stuff. So I'd really encourage you to lean into that and to say, oh, why am I doing that? You know, why am I collecting rocks and moss? Well, it might feel really good to grow something. It might feel really good. You know, it might feel meaningful in a time where it's hard to find meaning. Um, and so I'd really encourage y'all to lean into that. To think, okay, well, what's going on here? What, you know, I haven't been painting. I like to paint minis, and I haven't painted a single mini. And I thought, oh, I'm going to paint a million. No, because it feels like work. And then I don't get to play D&D in person with people, so we don't use minis, so it just doesn't feel meaningful right now. Other people are painting a lot, and that's great, and I'm happy for them. But for me, it's not a meaningful thing. And Bailey, yeah, planting some plants. It's great. Bailey, your dog is losing his mind because I make him come to school with me. What do you mean? What do you mean come to school? Like, do you literally walk to the school? And why was he, you know, I would think the dog would be thrilled if you're out there walking with him. Our animals are probably thrilled to have us home so much. Okay. Kaylee said she breaks in, and Bailey says, I'm in a separate room. I don't know if I follow, but okay. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Sure. I'm in a separate room. He's fully borderless. Sure. Okay. Again, I don't know if I completely follow, but that's okay. That's pretty funny. Yeah. I think it's been interesting to see people with their animals, and how our relationship to our pets has changed or not changed or something like that. I, I don't want to go too far in assuming anything, but like I know that y'all are spending a lot more time with your families, and I'd be really curious to hear how that's going. Um, I know that for me, when I was a teenager, I didn't want to be with my parents that much. Um, and so I can't say that that's for sure the case for y'all, but I really wonder how that's going, and how y'all are working with that. Are your parents giving you the space you need to kind of breathe? Are you getting a stronger relationship with your parents because you're going through this together? I'd be really curious to hear that. Just strictly, like, I'm just curious. Um, and I would also let you know, like, I have some friends who are single and living alone, and this is really hard for them. And I know that y'all are high schoolers, so this is not something that's quite on your radar. But again, in the idea of this whole shared experience, there are people who are alone right now, and to to try to continue to navigate those relationships with your parents and with your family and the people around you that are quarantined with you, and to give them that space they need, but then also to try to remind yourself that um, there is that element too that some people don't have that company. Just for perspective. Yeah, Kaylee said it's all right. Me and my sister get mad at each other really easily, though. Yeah, yeah. I have an older sister, and we definitely struggle. To, we get along better now, but this would be. I don't think we would do very well with the quarantine when I was 17 or 18. That would not be good. So I really feel for y'all. I've really been thinking about y'all. With the last 10 minutes or so, I'd really encourage y'all to jump on and ask those questions if you've been kind of holding out. Um, but I'd also invite y'all to think about, would you be interested in doing this again? Um, it's okay if it's just a check-in. I'm okay with that. Y'all are totally worth it. I appreciate y'all showing up. I wouldn't want to do it with just one student showing up. That would be kind of weird. But if this is something that's helpful for you, and you feel like um, you would also want to do some French work, I'd be happy to make this like a weekly thing, um, assuming this YouTube thing works and all that. So with the last 10 minutes, again, ask that question. This is your chance. If you have a question, um, but then also let me know if you'd be interested in. Uh, I could make this like a weekly thing. Like, all right, Wednesdays at 1 or Wednesdays at 2 or something like that. Yeah, Bailey said, I think this is great for getting to ask questions and talk to the class. Y'all probably don't talk to each other outside of this, huh? Um, that would be really rough. Y'all are a small class, and especially as upperclassmen, y'all have been through a lot together, and you've kind of seen each other as you've changed from freshman year to now. So yeah, I would imagine that would be tough to not talk to each other too. Um, so I hope y'all take the initiative to kind of reach out to each other too. But I'm happy to provide this venue too, if this is helpful. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah. Kaylee said, I don't have any questions about the material. Your videos did a great job of explaining. I'm really glad to hear that. I really struggle. I'm used to being in class with y'all and getting that immediate response that, okay, you're not following, whether it's somebody raising their hand or somebody like their eyes glazing over. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I know that y'all aren't keeping up and I can slow it down a little bit. And so it's been challenging for me to put out these videos and try to be as clear as possible, um, not knowing what's syncing and what's not. Um, so I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you very much, Kaylee. I really that kind of feedback is really important, and I want to encourage you all to give me that feedback when it's not working, or for things that aren't working so well. I can't guarantee I'll change everything, but I'm kind of throwing stuff into the void and hoping it sticks or something, hoping that it helps, but I have no idea. I have no idea until you tell me. So thank you, Kaylee. Ronan said, I'd like to do this again. It's nice to get in touch with everyone and to clear up any uncertainty about this whole debacle. Yeah, that's legit. Um, Uncertainty is going to be a thing, just so y'all know. Everybody, and I mean everybody, not just teachers at Verona, not just students at Verona, not just people working in service, not just people working at grocery stores, not just politicians. Everybody's struggling with that uncertainty. This is totally new. And I've been trying to be really deliberate about being straight with y'all about that. Like, hey, this is new. This is weird. Um, Not because I don't think you know, but I think it merits saying. It's worth saying that to let y'all know that I'm on the same page, that you're not alone in feeling that this is bizarre and scary and frustrating and boring or confusing, fun, whatever. Just to kind of give voice to those so that you understand that uncertainty, that feeling of not knowing can be scary and can be frustrating. My cats are doing well. Bailey asked, "How are your cats doing?" Um, they're super sweet. We have Basquiat, who's about 2, 3 years now, 3 years old, um, and Sumi, who's probably about 6 months now, a little over 6 months old. Um, I could be way off with that, but it's been really sweet seeing how they play with each other and entertain each other, and they sleep, and seeing how much they sleep because they sleep a lot, but also how they've kind of adapted to us being home so much. Yeah, they're doing awesome. I think pets are such a gift. Like I think pets are so great. They're so good at keeping us grounded, and um, this is actually a good way to end. This is going to be super tacky. I don't think this is going to work super well, but I'll send y'all. I just wanted to show y'all this cartoon that I saw earlier, and I'll kind of swipe through it. And this is the, probably the worst way to share it with y'all, but I'll just do it. Um, and then I'll keep my eyes on the chat if there are questions, but otherwise I'll just end with the cartoon that I'll share. So there's so that was sweet. Animals can give us that perspective that we don't always have. So, all right, this has been cool. It's been good to hear from y'all. And I'll get in touch with an email about my recommendations to follow up with Bailey's question about videos, films, shows, and podcasts in French. And I'll also follow up with maybe I'll ask y'all to fill out like a Google form about, yeah, Kaylee said that's adorable. I thought it was a really powerful little cartoon, simple. Um, and I'm happy to do this once a week. Again, I would want more than one person to show up, but I'm happy to be here, and provide that support for French or just generally to check in. So thank you for those of you who showed up, and I will see y'all later. Take good care of yourselves.